Hey, Colin Vanderwood here. I'd love to ask you to take a journey with me, a walk. It was back in 1991 and I was in the Adelaide Children's Hospital. There was a teenager in there, I was 13 at the time, by the name of Andrew. And I think in times of emotional conflict, people tend to say or ask, let's go for a walk. So I'd like you to accompany me on a walk, and I'll relate how the path of excess led to the Tower of Wisdom. Anyway, I'd love you to walk alongside me, so let's go. Thank you for walking with me on this journey. I'd like to share with you about how in recent times I've had to look deep within myself and examine myself in order to learn how to walk again. Not from a physical sense, but from a mental and spiritual sense. We sometimes discover that a path of excess can lead to a tower of wisdom. From pain and challenge can give birth to an awakening. From addiction we can gain strength. I will use the term addiction in terms of application to everything from substances to worrying to fear and anxiety. I think most people assume an addiction is a condition from ingesting a substance or engaging in activity. I feel we become compulsive with anything in life. Most importantly, I believe the majority of us are concerned with the worrying, how worrying and anxiety and mental states of discord, they're the biggest concerns, and how negative emotions all trap us into wanting to gain a sense of relief. We want to escape the pain and torment of the above addictions and emotions by using anything that feeds us short-term calmness or comfort. I wanted guidance this morning on how to actualize this video on my thoughts, so I listened to an album I don't listen to that often, which is The Joshua Tree by U2. The opening song is Where the Streets Have No Name. I'll repeat the opening lines. I want to run, I want to hide, I want to tear down the walls that hold me inside. I want to reach out and touch the flame where the streets have no name. I want to feel sunlight on my face. I see the dust cloud disappear without a trace. I want to take shelter from the poison rain where the streets have no name. According to Bono, the song ostensibly is about transcendence or elevation. The guitar by Edge is actually on that track is a repeated 6-track arpeggio. The writer Derek White conducted a mathematical study into this rhythmic delay that he used in some attempt to explain how this playing style appealed so much. His findings reported that the notes per minute repeated by the song's tempo in beats per minute, he arrived at an important mathematical constant that he used to explain most natural phenomena. Sound can have healing properties and is a vibrational frequency that, that can change, or other frequencies are simply beyond this. Sounds that soothe and provide harmony or vibration, a higher vibration, can attract positive influences and lead to creativity and balance. I certainly understand this morning that this album I had previously taken very little notice of is in fact a powerfully spiritually themed album. A few tracks later, the hint at escaping or addiction or a desire to transcend is more powerfully repeated in the song Running to Stand Still. I personally feel like when I'm experiencing negative emotion or an addiction, I'm literally running to stand still. I desire in my heart to stand, but the confines of the trapped emotions keeps me in a large sense still. They say that song itself was written in the context of heroin addiction epidemic in Dublin during the early 1980s. The lyrics, "I see 7 towers but only see one way out." I'd love to emphasise the next few lines that follow. You've got to cry without weeping, talk without speaking, scream without raising your voice. You know I took the poison from the poison stream, then I floated out of here. I've had many addictions to many different things during my life. I've overcome all of those addictions. However, I still battle the addiction to negative emotions at times. I love the way Dr. Wayne W. Dyer quotes, "If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." He's not talking vision, he's speaking of the way you use your mind to look at things. You cannot visualize without a thought. If you have the belief that you do not have the strength to change your life or overcome obstacles and challenges, especially addictions, think or contemplate this. With persistence, water can carve through rock. If you want me to enforce just how big the implications of the mind and strength of feeling and belief impact us, I will relate what I learned recently from the words of Gregg Braden. You have no doubt heard of the placebo effect, or as it was originally defined, the placebo response. In 1955, H.K. Beecher, who was an anesthesiologist at the chief at the Massachusetts Medical Hospital, published a landmark paper that documented 1/3 of people in a study of 24 cases reported healing from essentially nothing, just from belief. I think trauma or experiencing fear encourages anxiety and mental illness. You know, something happens in our childhood or something triggers a response that wants us to escape, and it leads to patterns that cause behaviour. Since September 11, 2001, Gregg Braden also elaborates, many people understandably were conditioned to believe that they lived in a world that was no longer safe. Studies in 2002 indicated that as much as 35% of the people exposed to the trauma of that event possibly would experience post-traumatic stress disorder later. 5 years later, this became reality when high school aged children started experiencing increased demand for anxiety-related treatment. In March 2007, Yale reported in a study that a growing number of college-age students that went through that in that time developed mental illness and anxiety symptoms and illnesses. From the simple fact, it's a traumatic experience and it leads to fear. I'd love to discuss a man too called Abram Hoffer, who was working in the 1950s and early 60s. He was a psychiatrist, psychologist, and he promoted that proper nutrition could affect mental illness, particularly schizophrenia and anxiety and so forth. He explored the use of high doses of niacin and high levels of vitamins in schizophrenics. He thought it influenced and benefited people with mental illness and anxiety, and I believe that he was on the right track back then, perhaps not emphasising niacin so profoundly, but the proper use of nutrition in mental health is considered to be the next big thing in mental health. His theory was that you get a schizophrenic or anyone with mental illness under stability, get them under a stable house, get them in an environment where they're comfortable, give them good, full, wholesome nutrition, cut out all the crap like sugar and fat and shit, and then get them eating proper food and exercise, he said it can literally turn their lives around. Um, he said there's a mantra that the mental health system likes to give the mentally ill. In the past, the mantra was, you'll be medicated for the rest of your life, you will never finish high school, and it gives the impression that you're never going to become anything. You're going to be emotionally crippled for the rest of your life. You already feel weak from the disability of the illness, and then you're told and emphasised that it's going to get worse and that you're never going to get any better and that there's no hope. You can live with it, but it'll return. And it's basically that they used to heavily get you to your knees, and every time you stood back up, your mind would make you sit back down again, and you'd constantly crumble under the thought that nothing's ever going to change. There's no hope for me. I just can't get out of this, My mind's weak. I'm weak. Nothing's ever going to change. I'm stuck. This is a pattern that I'm used to. Anxiety is something that is inflicted on me. It's something as I have to endure as punishment for whatever reason. There's nothing I can do about it, nothing I can do to change it. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can. There's a lot of things you can do to change it. And I'll relate my story. I haven't had an anxiety episode for 2.5 years since I changed to proper nutrition and exercise. Now, I don't say to everyone that this would work for everyone, but it had that effect for me, and that's the benefits it's had. And if they're saying that it's the next big thing in mental health, well, I consider it to be true. Do not underestimate the impact of what nutrition and exercise can do for your life. I say improve the body, the mind follows. So you improve the body and the mind follows, and I allowed my mind to follow as the body improved. Certain patterns like the above can be reprogrammed at any age. The science known as neuroplasticity has proven beyond doubt that minds and behaviours can be altered. Your life can be changed from set patterns to new possibilities. You might not think so, but it is truly possible. I'd like to end with a quote. The mind determines what's possible, the heart surpasses it. That's a quote by Kalinta Pilar. And I'd lastly like to wrap this up. Thank you for taking this journey with me and for listening to me. And I hope you gain any kind of insight into emotions, addictions, negative thought patterns, how we live, and just always keep open the belief that things can change and a different possibility is always possible. I'd lastly like to take a moment to thank and recognise some true sources of inspiration, some people that have helped along the way, people that have helped on my journey. Heidi Bang, my dear soulmate, you are the person that is truly not a shadow. You are truly there in essence and spirit every step of the journey with me. You are truly a gift. I thank you for being my friend and for accompanying me every step of the journey. Mwah! To a recent friend on YouTube, or a recent person I've had brief contact with, Angelica Rose, also known as Angel Star Creations. You are just a shining light. The sense of energy you project and that I receive and the knowledge I gain from you is truly outstanding, and what you do is truly inspirational. Gratitude to you. Also, the leaders of inspiration, the big names like Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, Louise L. Hay. Teal Swan has been a recent source of knowledge and inspiration. Greg Braden, Bob Proctor. I'd love to mention another guy on YouTube, Become Your Strength, also known as Chris Lai. You, my man, are a true legend. You are a phenomenal light shiner. Gratitude to you. Blake Gross, the personal trainer at the gym, a friend of mine, for being a good mate, and I know you're going to enjoy this video. Danielle McDonald, you've been a true guide for me on my career path and for helping me in my step toward employment, and your friendship is just outstanding. I respect you like no other. Toya on Google Plus and all the people on Google Plus, including Rianne, Dave, and all the characters that I love and I cherish with all my heart. Sending love to you. James Digan, the clean and lean warrior, the fitness person that promotes clean and lean eating and organic produce and organic food. If it wasn't for you, I would not have had the blueprint on how to start eating and adopting proper nutrition and how to lose weight and get fit, how to adopt fitness and yoga. Credit to you. You're a true inspiration and you were a hero to me, and now you're like a friend on Twitter. You actually, it's pretty good when you get to communicate with your hero. And lastly, I'll make special mention of Enigma, the German or the musical act that came out in 1990, which the name of the this video is based upon a quote in the inside cover. The path of excess leads to the Tower of Wisdom, which is originally a quote by W. Blake. But it's a misquote, apparently. The original quote by W. Blake was, in fact, the road of excess leads to the Palace of Wisdom. In my personal opinion, that misquote is actually better because I would rather be led to a tower than led to a palace. I'd like to, think of a tower as superior to the trappings and the ego of a palace. I'll show you the cover of that album too, because that was a phenomenal album for me in 1990. That was a game changer. That album literally changed the world and opened a lot of consciousness to meditation and relaxation. When I listened to that album for the first time, I tell you what, some unusual energy and things happened that made me think that maybe all is not what it seems in this world, and to think outside the square. So, lastly, gratitude to you all, love and light. Love to all my Twitter followers. Give love, receive love. And lastly, namaste.